don't pick that life picked you. Welcome to Sit Down News, and before I begin, I'd like to mention our sponsor. Ratchet is a clothing company from the UK started by a young man with a vision, a dream, and determination. They have various prints and styles for men, women, and children. I'll include a link to their website down below in the description for this video. After the fight took place at the strip club Gossip, about 2 weeks later I took a ride with Johnny Sideburns up to the club in the Bronx. This was a Lucchese social club on Connington Avenue. Johnny Sideburns wanted to walk in empty-handed, but I stopped at a bakery on Tremont Avenue and bought a cake. He must have played hooky the day when they were teaching manners. In the club that day was the acting boss Matty Madonna, the underboss Stevie Crea, the consigliere Joe DiNapoli, and an old-time capo regime, Richie DeLuca. Richie was cooking as usual that day. He was a very, very good cook. We made small talk with the guys for about an hour or so, and then Big John and Anthony Guzzo walked in. On the car ride up to the Bronx, Sideburns told me that Anthony was in trouble. He said Anthony's stepson, Anthony Rinaldi, who received a compound fracture the night of the fight, retained a lawyer and was suing Gossip, which now belonged to the West Side, the Genovese family. The West Side reached out to Stevie with the paperwork. Rinaldi wanted his hospital bills paid, money he claimed he lost not being able to work in his restaurant, the Pearl Room, which was in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and compensation for his pain and suffering. Big John and Anthony came over to say hello. John said, "Hey Mo, if I would have known you were coming, we could have all drove over here together." Anthony was quiet and looked white as a ghost, and the next thing I knew, Stevie motioned for both of them to go outside. They were only out there for a few minutes before Anthony came walking back over. He said to me, "Did you hear what's going on?" He told me about the lawsuit and said that Stevie told him, "I want that lawsuit pulled yesterday." Anthony was cursing Rinaldi. He called him a sneak who always was trying to make a dollar. After that day, Rinaldi did pull a lawsuit. However, about a month later, Gossip received a letter from Rinaldi asking for money and making threats. I learned about this one day at the cigar lounge when Big John handed me a letter and said, "Here, read this." I finished reading it and just shook my head. John turned around and said to me, "We got to crack this piece of shit now." I told him, "You mean Anthony needs to crack him?" He just looked at me and shook his head. He said, "Do you really think he's going to do it?" I said, "He's got to do it." Anthony and his wife were looking to build a new restaurant on Bay Street in Staten Island, and Big John was involved with a construction company, and he wanted Anthony to give him the build-out work for the restaurant. One day while I was at the cigar lounge, Big John turned to me and said, "Oh, by the way, we cracked that kid by the restaurant." I knew he was bullshitting me, so I went to Anthony. I told him what John just told me, and then I said to him, "Anthony, you know if you cracked that kid, he would run and tell his mother and you'd be divorced." He laughed and said, "Well, now I got to convince her to give John the build-out work for this restaurant." So by his answer, I knew they never touched Rinaldi. So for money, Big John lied to the underboss because that's who wanted him to get cracked for sending a letter. The funniest part of the story is Big John got screwed because Anthony's wife made an excuse that John's architect was no good. You can subscribe to the Sit Down News blog at sitdownnews.com, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Thank you. Well, just another example in the mob you never knew about. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, you could do so down below. If you would like to subscribe to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast, I'll add a link in the description for this video.